Morning. Thank you so much for joining me for yoga. We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you want to make your way to your mat, we're going to come to child's posture to start. So that looks like shins flat on the mat, knees nice and wide, toes kind of close together enough to touch. Hips are sitting back over top of the heels. And just letting the torso, the body just drape over top of the thighs. Allow the forehead to come to the mat if that's at all possible, or you can also rest the forehead on a block, a bolster, a blanket. And as you come here to this beginning child's posture to get started, just a couple of things about our class to let you know. My name is Jess, if you don't know me already, so welcome. I always invite you to take class at your own pace. You know, it's your practice and I'm just here as a guide. So if I ever instruct anything that doesn't feel like 100% great in your body, feel free to just skip it. Take a moment of stillness, come back to your breath and just jump right back on in whenever things are feeling good for your body again. It's your practice. I'm really just here as a guide. Pause whenever you need, take a breath whenever you need, take some water whenever you need. I may not always explicitly cue for these things, but whenever your body needs it, go right ahead and do so. This child's posture that you're in right now is a really great place to come back to, just to kind of regain your breath. If you're ever kind of feeling like you just need a moment to catch up. So I would always advise that if that feels like it's the best thing for your practice today, just come back to a position of stillness. Take a few breaths and jump back in at any point when it feels good for you. And so just speaking of the breath, coming to just begin to notice the breath in your child's posture. Noticing if there's any areas of tension. You may want to draw the breath to those areas a little bit more. Noticing the quality of the breath. Is it flowing smoothly and easily? Is it cool and refreshing? Or maybe it's not so cool, easier and refreshing today. Maybe it's getting caught or held up in a few places. And just consciously thinking of those areas where the breath might not be flowing so easily. Just trying to bring a little more relaxation and ease into those areas if you can. Noticing the body along with the breath now. If there's any areas of tension in the body. Any areas where you might like to bring a little extra attention to during your practice today. And just breathe a little love into those areas right now while we're in this moment of stillness. And from your child's posture here at the beginning of your practice is always a really nice place to set an intention. And an intention is just basically a goal or a mantra that you'd like to come back to, something to focus the mind on in the practice. If making it here for your practice was your biggest hurdle today, then maybe you've already completed that intention and you want your intention to just be gratitude for this practice. Your intention can be anything, just really to focus on the breath. Your intention can be to take this flexibility from your practice into other parts of your life and other parts of your day. If you're ever struggling to come up with an intention, one that I always like to just come back to is I am whole or I am complete. Just kind of repeating that little mantra to yourself during any point of the practice where the mind might start to get distracted. Repeating that intention or that goal for your practice back to yourself is a really good way to ground yourself and come back to the focus of your practice in that moment. So now holding on to that intention for your practice, if you have set one for yourself, you're going to take a nice big inhale, looking up towards the fingertips in your child's pose. And as we exhale, we're going to walk both those hands off the left side of the mat. You're going to feel a stretch down the right side of your body. And so once your hands get off the side of the mat, you can relax the head once again. And coming back to those same nice deep breaths in child's posture, you want to breathe really deep, and you should be feeling that stretch more on your right side now. Again, as you find some space and settle into this posture a little more, maybe you can lengthen the breaths, deepen the breaths as much as possible. With your next inhale, let's take the left arm, windmilling it up and around behind you. So the back of the hand is going to come towards the small of the back. The palm of the hand is facing up towards the sky. And from here, just see if you can gently open that left shoulder a little bit. It's going to be a really, really subtle movement. You're kind of pressing away from the floor with the right hand in order to open up the torso and press it away from the floor. And that might allow that left shoulder to open up just a little bit, encouraging the twist through the center of the body. Again, a really, really subtle movement and distinction here. If active in this twist is a little too much stress for the shoulders or the neck, you can always bring the right ear towards the right bicep and just rest the head on top of the bicep if holding the neck up feels like too much tension for you. Again, this will really accentuate that stretch. You should really be feeling it down the right side of the body here. And one more inhale. As you exhale, unwind that left arm and just walk both hands right back to the center of your mat. Coming back to a nice neutral child's posture. Let the head rest on the mat here and take a few breaths just to stretch it back out. Good. And with your next inhale, looking up towards the fingertips again. Exhaling, now walking the hands off towards the right side of the mat, just the opposite way of where we went before. Good. And as you stretch that torso over towards the right side of the mat, you should be feeling the stretch a little bit more on the left side of the body now whenever you take a nice big inhale. Good. With your inhale, looking towards the fingertips, exhaling, windmilling that right hand all the way around and behind you, so that now the right back of the hand is on the small of the back. The right palm is facing up towards the sky. And you're just doing that same twisting and opening motion, kind of pressing the left hand into the mat to raise the torso and opening up through the right shoulder, slowly and gently allowing the right shoulder to become higher. Again, feeling free to just rest the left ear on top of the left bicep if that eases some tension in the neck for you. Unwinding with your next inhale. Bring the right hand back to meet the left. And as you exhale, walk the hands back to your child's pose in the center. Good. And for those last couple breaths, coming into a nice active child's pose, you can tent up onto the fingers. So just the fingertips are on the mat, pressing the hands up and away so the palms of the hand are kind of tented up away from the mat. This will kind of raise the forearms, raise the elbows, raise the shoulders, and you're in a little bit more of an active child's pose here. So looking up towards the fingertips, breathing nice and deep. Good, one more big inhale here. As you exhale, flatten the hands into the mat, press up through the knees and let the hips float up above the knees, coming into a tabletop position. Good, so kind of wiggle yourself out in any way that you need to. And in tabletop, we want the knees nice and centered below the hips. We want the wrists either right centered underneath the shoulders or just a little bit slightly in front of the shoulders. If you have tight wrists and wrist flexibility is something that you're working on, you'll probably want them a little in front of the shoulders so that you're not extending as much flexion when we bend into the wrists. From here, really engage that low core, lace it up almost as if there's kind of laces coming between those front hip bones and the ribs. You want to kind of lace those together so we're really engaging all of the core muscles, keeping that core nice and strong and the spine is nice and straight. Good, and just breathing into your tabletop here. This can be a really active, engaged pose. As long as you're not kind of letting everything sort of sag and hang out. If you're lacing up that front of the body, really tucking the pelvis and engaging in the core, this right here can be quite an active core posture. And from here, we're going to just do some cat and cow breaths. So as you exhale, we're going to press away from the mat, rounding into an angry cat-like back. Really engage the low core here, pulling it in towards the spine. Exhale, press, press, press all the way away from the mat until all the air is out of the body. Good. Inhale now, opening the chest and belly to relax towards the mat. Shoulders open, head raises high, and tailbone raises high. Good. And as you exhale, moving back towards that angry cat-like position, engaging the low core and belly, pressing away from the mat. Good. As you inhale, move in the opposite direction, open up the front of the body, head and tailbone high. Good. So you're just going to move like this with your own breath, exhaling, rounding, pressing up and away, really pressing through all of the surface of the hands. Use the entire length of that breath for the motion. And as you inhale, using the entire length of the inhale for the opposite motion to open the body up. Okay, so let's do 3 breaths like this. 3 exhales, pressing up and away. And 3 inhales, opening up the body and relaxing the belly towards the mat. Moving with the pace of your own breath here. You can bend as much or as little into the elbows and the knees as you want to facilitate these motions. Good. Final breath in each direction. And coming back to a nice neutral tabletop, straight spine. And from here, we're going to thread the needle. So bringing the right hand directly under the shoulder, if you did have it a little out in front. You're going to inhale, take the left arm out to the side, parallel like a big airplane wing. And exhale, thread that left hand all the way underneath that little hole under the right arm. Good. Eventually, left shoulder is going to come to the mat. Left ear will come to the mat. And when the left ear makes its way to the mat, you'll be able to kind of walk that right hand out all the way to the top of the mat, kind of acting as a little kickstand or a little balance for you. And remembering this twist should be coming from the center of the body, from the torso. And the hips might have a little bit of a tendency to lean a little bit more towards the right side, trying to find the path of least resistance. So just making sure you're consciously pulling those hips back to the center line of the mat. They should be right over top of the knees. And coming back to those nice long, deep breaths. Often when we're holding a twist or we're holding a balance, we tend to shorten the breaths or start breathing quickly. So making sure that even though we're concentrating on holding these postures, we're really coming back to those long, deep breaths as much as we possibly can. With your next inhale, bring the right hand back close towards the face underneath the right shoulder, and unwinding the way you came in, pressing to the right hand, unwind the left and make your way back to a tabletop position. You can kind of wiggle out the spine here in any ways that feel good to you right now. We're going to thread our needle on the opposite side. So making sure that the left hand is now directly under the left shoulder for as much support as possible. Press nice and strong into that left hand, and we're going to inhale, take the right hand out like an airplane wing. Exhale with your next breath, thread that right hand underneath the left arm so that the right shoulder is going to make its way to the mat, right ear makes its way to the mat, right palm is facing up. Once you've got the ear onto the mat, you can begin to walk that left hand out all the way to the top of your mat, acting as a little bit of a kickstand and a support for your balance. Again, here making sure that the body stays in alignment as much as possible. So the hips might have a tendency to sway a little bit over to the left side, sort of trying to find the path of least resistance. So just encouraging those hips a little more to the right than you think they might need to go, keeping them center line, so the hips should be right above the knees. And engage those low core muscles, twisting through the core here. One more big inhale in this posture. As you exhale, bring the left hand back towards the face so it's underneath the left elbow. Press into that left hand, unwinding, bringing the right hand back to your tabletop position. Good. Come to some nice circles here. So just let the hips circle around knees. Good. And pause and then move your circles in the opposite direction. You can do some spine motion here as well, kind of waving the spine with the circular hip motions. It's really waking up the joints. Good. We're going to now flip the wrist. So again, if you're a really tight wrist person, only take this as it feels good for you. It may just be a slight out turn here. If you're a tight wrist person, that might be as far as it goes today, and that's totally okay. But basically what we're going to start doing is out turning the wrist, so flipping the hands towards the outside of the mat. So maybe the middle finger will now face towards each outside edge. Pause here and see if that feels good. If you feel like you have a little more access to some more movement today, you're going to continue flipping them around. So now we're flipping them further so that maybe now the pinky or the middle finger is pointing back towards your own kneecaps. And again, this might be enough for you here. This might feel like a really good stretch here. For most people, this will be a pretty intense wrist stretch, especially if you're somebody who sits at a computer and types all day. Good. So if this feels good here, if you feel like you can do a little bit further, I'm going to start coming to our cat and cow movements with our adjusted wrist posture. So if you're in the fully backwards wrist, make sure you're taking this very, very carefully, very, very slowly, only going as far as it feels good to your body. But you're basically going to keep doing those cat and cow motions, exhaling, rounding, pressing angry cat-like back up and away from the mat. And inhaling, opening the chest, letting the belly fall towards the mat and letting the head and tailbone come high. And so whatever wrist position you're in is totally great to do this in. If you have the fingers facing out towards either side, you can still be doing your cat and cows here. And you're just improving the wrist mobility by practicing your cat and cows in a different wrist position. And again, if the fingers are still facing forward, that's totally great here. Only do what feels good for the strength of your wrist today. Good. 3 more breaths here in your cat and cow, whatever wrist position you're in. Just moving with the pace of your own inhales and exhales here. Good. And final breath in each direction. Good. Unwinding the wrists, let them come back to face forward if they were in some kind of altered position. And we're just going to sit right back onto the heels and just do some gentle wrist circles here in either direction. Stretch and flex the fingers. Really just kind of waking the wrists up from that intense stretch that we just had. You can grab one wrist, just making a little circle around your wrist there, and bend and flex the hand that you're holding on to. And then when you release it and bend and flex, you should have like a little bit more feeling and motion returning to them. You can grab the other wrist, give a little tension, give a little squeeze while you bend and flex. And then release the grip. Doing some nice gentle circles, waking those wrists back up after such a big stretch that we very rarely put them in that position for. Good. From here, we're going to come back to our tabletop just for a brief transition. Tuck the toes, float the hips up and back, and coming into your first downward facing dog of the day. And just being gentle with your down dog while you're here. You can have a generous bend in the knees, maybe alternating bending and straightening each leg to walk your dog out. And a pretty intense stretch for the backs of the legs in down dog, especially if you're someone who spends a lot of time sitting every day. So just be gentle with the body here, listen to what it needs. Good. Coming to stillness in your down dog. I'm just taking 3 gentle breaths here, finding stillness. Inhale and exhale, side out. Good. Second breath, inhale and exhale. Good. Final time, inhale and exhale. Good. Let's inhale, take that right leg up into 3-legged dog, stretch it nice and long, flex the toes towards the knees, press the heel away from you. Good. Inhale fully here. And exhale, step that leg through between the hands, lower the left knee, and we're in a low crescent here. So left knee is lowered, left foot is flat on the mat. Top of left foot is flat on the mat. Have the hands on either side of the front right foot here for support and stability. And just find your way into a low crescent that feels good for you. You may want to slightly widen the stance so that you're on a little bit less of a balance beam. Good. And just kind of settling into this low crescent here, again, depending on how mobile or flexible you tend to be on a day-to-day basis, this could already feel like a really good stretch for you. And slowly, as you feel ready, just rolling the torso up 1 vertebrae at a time. You can take the hands to either hip. Good. Want to really engage that left bum cheek and left leg so that you're kind of pushing forward and stretching the front of that left hip as much as you possibly can. Good. You can scoot the front toes forward a little bit if you need to, and just gently begin leaning into that front leg, kind of coming into like a half split motion. Again, only as much as it feels good for you. And if it's too much, you can always have the hands come back down for a little bit of support. Good. We're going to press back into that front leg. Now start moving in the opposite direction. So right leg's going to begin to straighten. Hands come down to either side for support. As the right leg straightens, the right toes will pop up off the mat as if they're kind of flexing, trying to touch towards your own nose. It's run like a half pyramid here. Again, using the hands on either side for as much support as you need. Trying to keep that spine nice and straight as much as possible, so not rounding or hunching, keeping a nice, straight, neutral spine. Really feeling that stretch underneath the right leg and the hamstrings. Good. Breathe into those hamstrings and hips if you tend to be a tight person here. Good. Really flex that foot as even more than you think you need to. So flex the toes up like they're trying to touch your own knee. Engage that quad, pulling the knee up. Good. As we exhale with your next breath, bend into the right leg. Let the right foot come back to the mat. Bend into the right knee, so the right knee is coming back over the right ankle. Good. From here, we're going to just take that right hand to transition over, so it's on the inside of the right foot. Flatten the hand, really press it up and away. You're going to really need it for the support here. Good. That right shoulder should be on the inside of the right knee. And we're going to inhale nice and deep here. As you exhale, peeling the torso open, twisting through the torso, taking the left arm nice and high. So almost going to be like as if you were stuck between two panes of glass here. You want the shoulders to be in one vertical line on top of each other. Good. Really press up and away from the mat. This is a really intense stretch for you. You can always have a block, a book, or whatnot on the inside of the right foot to put the hand on top of, and that will slightly lessen the intensity of the stretch for you if that's something that you need today. Good. Really engage that right glute. It's going to kind of allow you to press that elbow into the knee, press the knee into the elbow, and open up a little bit more through the torso. Good. One more inhale fully here. Exhale, bring that left hand back down to meet the right. Removing your block or prop if you were using one. Taking that right hand back around towards the outside of the right foot, so you're supporting on either side again. I'm going to tuck into those left toes, coming back up onto the left ball of foot, and allow the heel to come down on about a 45-degree angle on that back left foot. Good. So from here, we're going to be coming into warrior one pose, slowly rolling up one vertebrae at a time. Good. And depending on your stance here, you might need to just slightly adjust your stance. I've noticed that I'm a little too long in my stance, so I'm just going to kind of hop my back foot forward. Good. Just adjusting as you need to make sure you're comfortable in each posture here. So in my warrior one, my back left foot's about a 45-degree angle. I'm pressing down that heel so that you almost couldn't even fit like a credit card or a slip of paper underneath the foot if you tried to. Good. Bending into that front knee, so the knee is over top the ankle. And the tendency here might be to open the hips up a little bit more into that open left side. So just really pushing that left hip forward, pulling the right hip back a little bit more than you might think you need to. Pressing that back left leg nice and straight and long. Let's inhale, sweep both arms up. Exhale, let them come out to the side like cactus arms. Inhale, sweep them around to heart center, prayer position. And exhale, drop them down. Good. We're going to move with the breath in the arms just like that. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, out to the side like a cactus. Inhale, sweep around to heart center. And exhale, drop both to the side. Good. One more like that. Inhale, sweep arms up tall. Exhale, drop to cactus arms. Inhale, sweep around to heart center. And exhale, drop both hands to the side. Good. Inhale, sweep both arms up. Exhale, take both arms down to either side of that front right foot. We're going to step the left leg all the way back and step the right leg all the way back. So you're in a plank position here. Good. If a vinyasa flow is something in your practice, you can flow on through it right now. I'll give you cues. If not, you can feel free to stay here in plank, put the knees down, whatever feels good for you. Inhale fully for vinyasa. Exhale, lower to chaturanga. Inhale, cobra sphinx or up dog. Exhale, back and up to downward dog. Good. Take a few breaths in your down dog here. Good. Let's inhale now. Sweep the left leg up into three-legged dog. Good. Flex the toes towards the knee. Press the heel away. Good. One more big inhale here. Exhale, step it through between the hands. Lower the right knee, lower the top of the right foot. And we're in our low crescent on this side. Good. Just getting used to this posture here. Slowly letting yourself sink into that front knee. Again, it can be a really intense stretch, so just do this very slowly and in stages as it feels good for your body. Good. Breathe nice and deep and really engage that back right glute. So it's pressing down on the right hip, really intensifying the stretch that you're feeling on the front of the right hip. Nice big inhale. As you exhale, starting to walk back gently into that half pyramid position. So hands are walking a little bit back closer towards the hips. Gently beginning to straighten into that left front leg. As the leg becomes straightened, the toes will kind of pop up. You're going to actively flex them up as if they're trying to touch that knee. Good. Once the toes are nice and active, we're also going to really flex the quad of the left leg, pulling that kneecap up. Good. Really keeping the spine as nice and straight as possible, trying to avoid any rounding or hunching. And again, using props here, if that's something that makes it easier for you to keep the spine nice and straight and neutral, that's totally great. Breathe really deep into the back side of the left leg here. Breathe into the hamstring where you're feeling that stretch. From here, bending back into that front left knee, walking the hands back towards the front of the mat. And we're going to take the left hand now, bringing it towards the inside of the left foot for support. Again, really spreading and pressing the entire surface of the palm. Every finger knuckle is being pressed into the mat to really support the shoulder here. Good. With your next inhale, reach the spine nice and long. And as you exhale, begin to peel open. Good. Allowing the right hand to reach nice and tall towards the sky. You almost want to feel like you're sort of pressed between two panes of glass here. The shoulders should be in one straight line if you can. And again, feeling free to have a prop of some kind underneath the left hand, raising the left hand up, kind of taking a little of the intensity away from the posture if you need. Good. Relax the right shoulder. Want to make sure it's not creeping up towards the right ear. It should be nice and neutral in its socket. The reach is coming from the fingertips. And one more big inhale here. Exhale, take the right hand back down to meet the left. Remove your prop if you're using one. And allow the left hand to go back towards the outside of the left foot. Good. And from here, we're going to come to our warrior one. So we're going to begin to tuck those back right toes. And hop the foot forward just a little bit so that you're able to bring that back right heel to about a 45-degree angle. Good. Slowly, as you're able to, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, coming to your warrior one position. And again, once you're here, just adjusting in whatever way feels comfortable for you. So want to make sure you're not on too much of a balance beam. The feet, the actual heels of the feet should still be about hip distance apart. Front foot is facing forward. That left knee is really nice and generously bent, so it's right over top the ankle of the front left foot. Good, really pressing that back right leg into the mat as much as you can. That back right glute is nice and engaged. And again, just kind of gently feeling like we need to pull that right hip forward a little bit and the left hip back. The tendency will be for the hips to open up to the side for the path of least resistance. So we're going to make sure everything's nice and neutral. Left hip back, right hip forward a little bit. Good. And as you feel nice and steady here, we're going to come to those same arm motions with our breath. So let's inhale, sweep both arms up with the inhale. Exhale, drop them out to the side like cactus arms. Inhale, sweep around to heart center. And exhale, drop both arms to the side. Good. Inhale, sweep up with the breath. Exhale, open arms like a cactus. Inhale, sweeping around heart center. And exhale, dropping to the side. Good. One last time. Inhale, sweeping up. Good. Exhale, out to cactus arms. Inhale, sweep around to the heart. And exhale, drop both to the sides. Beautiful. Bringing the hands back to the hips. One more full inhale here. And one last exhale. Good. With your next breath, drop both hands to either side of that front foot. Pressing into the palms for support and step both legs all the way back out to a tall plank. Again, we're going to come through a vinyasa here if this is part of your practice. If not, you can totally feel free to skip it. Inhale fully here. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, sweep forward, cobra sphinx up dog. And exhale, back to a downward facing dog. Good, walk your dog out here. Alternating, bending and straightening the legs. Good, 3 full breaths in down dog. Trying to find a place of rest here. Good, at the end of your third breath, you begin to walk those feet all the way up behind the hands, bending as much into the knees as you need to. Inhale, halfway lift, nice flat straight back. And exhale, folding forward over those legs. So again, you can bend knees nice and generously if you'd like to have the torso rest on the thighs. You really just want to take any tension or holding or weight out of the torso of the body. So take either hands to the elbows. So left hand to right elbow crease. Right hand to left elbow crease. And just really let the entire torso totally hang out here, not holding on to any weight. And sway the torso from side to side if that feels good for you. And let's unwind those hands back to the mat. Inhale, nice flat back, halfway lift one more time. Really engage the low belly as if the hip bones and the ribs are being laced up together like we said before. Good. From here, support with the hands into the mat. Bend very generously into the knees till the hips come over the heels, and you're going to just come to sit somewhere in the middle of your mat. Good. We're going to come to a nice forward-legged fold, forward fold here over long legs. And so again, just adjusting in whatever way feels good for you here. If this already just kind of sitting in an L shape like this is really, really intense for you, you're finding you're having to kind of hunch to keep yourself forward or kind of really engage the hip flexors or the belly to keep yourself just up like this. This is probably as far as you're going to go, and that's totally okay if this feels intense enough for you. If you're already in a place where this is really intense, you can always sit on something like a block, a bolster, whatnot, just making sure you're still really engaging when flexing the legs. But having the hips raised like this can make it so that you're already not fighting the posture as much if you're a really, really tight person here. So totally have that as an option. If that's something that makes the posture feel better for you, feel free to sit on something to raise your hips. Good, and from here, just finding a nice neutral spot in your seat, making sure your seat bones are both fully pressed into and engaged in the mat. Good. Engage the low belly. And engaging the core again, so it feels like those front hip bones and the bottom of the ribs are kind of being laced up together, really pulling those together and engaging the core. And that's what's really helping hold you up steady here. Good. From here, if it feels good, you can begin to tiptoe the fingers down towards the calves, maybe the ankles, maybe the sides of the feet to hold on. Again, only going as far as it feels good for you or possible for you in your practice today. When you get to a certain spot, finding your grip there. And just checking in with the body, making sure this feels good. Making sure you're able to get to this place with a nice neutral straight spine and not a huge rounded hunch. Keeping that straight neutral spine, keeping the integrity of the spine is going to make it a much more beneficial posture and much more beneficial to the stretch that you're going to receive from it. And so again, as you get to a place, maybe now you've reached the ankles, the spine's nice and straight, and you feel maybe you can go a little further. Just tiptoeing a little bit further and further as it feels good for you. You're coming back to the breath, coming back to the intentions that you set at the beginning of your class. Finding this moment of stillness here, breathing into any area where there may be any tension. Maybe with every inhale, seeing if you can reach a little bit further. With every exhale, really seeing if you can just let go and relax on the exhales. And taking one more full breath wherever you're at in this posture here. Last exhale to see if you can sink just a little bit deeper. Good. With your next inhale, begin to release your grip. Slowly walking back up to that nice neutral seated position where we started. Just holding here for a couple of breaths. Good. From here, you can take the hands to either side of the hips, bend into the legs to bring the soles of feet nice and close together to each other. So the soles of feet are together, knees are out to either side, coming into Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. And again, we're just going to adjust here as it feels good for your body and your practice today. So the further away the feet are from the hips, the less intense the stretch is going to feel. The closer you bring your hips in towards the closer you bring your heels in towards your hips, the more intensity you're going to feel in the hip stretch. So just bearing that in mind, adjusting to whatever version or intensity feels good for you today. You can take the hands to grip around the ankles or grip around the centers of the feet. And again, really trying to keep that straight neutral spine here as much as possible. Feeling both the sits bones supported and engaged in the mat underneath us. And again, this may be an intense enough stretch for you here. This might be as far as your butterfly goes today, and that's totally okay. Just take it in whatever version feels good for your body. If you feel like you might be able to take this a little bit further for today, I'm going to begin to hinge at the hips, not rounding the spine. Again, just hinging at the hips, slowly leaning forward over those feet. I personally like to interlace my fingers and just stick them underneath the feet, having the elbows out nice and wide, similar to the knees. And then you can just kind of very gently press with the elbows against the shins, kind of bring you a little bit further forward into that posture. Again, only as it feels good for you here. And you're not really, yanking yourself into the posture by the hands and elbows and shins. You're just really gently allowing that fold to come from the hips. The spine is still nice and straight and neutral, trying to avoid any hunching or rounding as much as possible. One more full inhale here. And exhale, last chance to see if you can sink just a little deeper. And one more big inhale. And now as we exhale, gently rounding the spine in order to round yourself back up one vertebrae at a time. Coming back to a nice neutral straight spine as you're sitting up. Good. From here, we're going to cross the legs just in your sort of normal, gentle cross-legged posture. I'm just going to turn so you can see me in the camera a little bit more if you need to. So cross your legs in whatever way feels comfortable for you. We're going to cross them the opposite way for the other side. Good. So let's inhale, sweep both arms up, nice and tall, bringing them above the head. Exhale, take the right hand down to the mat. And with that exhale, lean all the way over towards the right side. So the left arm is reaching over towards the right side of the body. And here the tendency might be for that left hip to come off and away from the mat. We want to just really consciously press that left hip down and make sure that both seat bones are sitting nice and evenly in the mat. Again, even though we're reaching to the opposite side, reaching nice and tall, we want to make sure that the shoulder's not creeping up into the ear, creating any tension there. The shoulder should be nice and neutral in its socket, and the stretch is coming from the arm itself. feeling that stretch down the left side of the body. If you can go any further, maybe that right forearm will come to the mat. You can take your gaze down, turn the head to look towards the right hand at the mat. And then rotate the neck very slowly and gently. Take the gaze up to look up towards the left thumb. Good. One more big inhale here. Exhaling, pressing away from the mat with the right hand. Let the left hand come down to the left side. Good. And just gently do some shoulder circles here. So inhale, shoulder circles all the way up to the ear. Exhale, let the shoulders melt down the back. Good. Inhale, circle them all the way up to the earlobes. Exhale, let them melt away down the back. Good. One more time. Inhale, circle them all the way up. And exhale, let them melt down and away. Good. And on the other side now, let's inhale, take both arms all the way up above the head. Exhale, left arm down towards the left side for support and lean all the way over towards that left side. As you're breathing, really feeling that stretch down the entire left side of the body from the left armpit all the way down to the left hip crease. Again, making sure that both hips are seated nice and neutral into the mat, making sure that that right hip is not floating up and away at any point. And as you find some more space in the posture, maybe you're able to lower that left arm a little bit more. Maybe the left forearm will come to the mat. And as you exhale, take a look down towards the left thumb. Very slowly and gently with your next exhale, turn the neck and gaze up towards the right thumb. And one last inhale while you're here. And exhale, press into that left arm. Let the torso come up nice and neutral and let the right hand come back down to the right side. Good, now let's inhale, shoulder circles all the way up to the ear and exhale down and round. Inhale all the way up and exhale, let them relax. Good, last time, inhale up and exhale all the way down. Good, let's come to switch. So flip the feet. If you had the right foot crossed on top of left, just swap them, do vice versa. And from here, we're going to gently come to twist. So let's inhale, take both arms up nice and tall. Exhale, taking the right hand towards the top of the left knee. Left hand just going to make its way down to the floor behind your back, just as a little bit of a kickstand to keep the spine nice and straight and tall. Good, and just gently twisting through the torso here. You can use the right hand as a little bit of an extra assist to create some tension to help that twist for you. One more big inhale here. With your last exhale, turning the neck to look all the way behind you as much as you can, taking the gaze over that back left shoulder if it's okay for you. Good. Inhale with the next breath, bring both arms nice and tall above the head again. And exhale, opposite direction. So left hand comes towards the top of the right knee. Right hand will make its way behind you on the floor just to be a little bit of an extra support or kickstand. One more big inhale, nice and tall here. Exhale, turn to look over that back right shoulder. Extending the gaze with the neck if possible for you. Inhale, bring both arms up nice and tall above the head. And exhale, let them drop down to heart center. Good. From here, we're just going to make our way into a reclined position. So however that feels good for you, just making your way to a reclined position, lying on your back on your mat. Good. And so let's bend generously into the knees, bring them up in towards the chest. You can bring the arms around the outsides of the knees and just give yourself a nice, gentle little hug here. Maybe rocking from side to side. Give yourself a nice little back massage on the mat. And releasing the arms, let the legs reach up nice and tall above you. So feet are nice and flat, toes flexed up towards like you're touching your own knees. If you need, you can have the hands behind the thighs here just to give some extra support. So you're not holding any tension, trying to hold the legs up. From here, we're going to come into happy baby. So bend generously into the knees, separating the legs from one another to either side. You're going to let the knees come up towards the armpits, reach up tall with the hands. So the hands are going to come to either side, outside of each foot. And just let the legs widen to whatever point is comfortable here. So the knees should be somewhere kind of around the biceps or aiming up towards the armpits on each side. And really aiming to feel all of the back flat and supported in the mat here. Like 3 more big breaths here in happy baby. At the end of that third breath, you can release the grip on the feet. Just gently let legs come back down towards the mat. So the soles of feet are pressed into the mat. They're about hip distance apart. And just gently let both legs or both knees drop off towards the left side of the mat. Inhale, bring them back up so they're pointing to the ceiling. And exhale, drop them both off towards the right side of the mat. Good. Inhale, back up to the ceiling. Exhale to the left. Inhale to the ceiling. Exhale to the right. Good. Inhale to the ceiling. And just keep going with your own breath here. So exhaling to one side, inhaling up, and exhaling to the opposite side, just like gentle windshield wiper motion of the legs. Do 2 more on each side. And after those final couple windshield wipers, we're going to begin to make our way into Shavasana for the closing of our practice. So if there's any other practice or any other posture that you feel like you need to take in order for your practice to feel more complete, I will invite you to do so now within the next couple moments. And otherwise, making your way to Shavasana, extending both legs nice and long and wide out from towards the end of the mat, allowing the feet to spill open to either side of the mat, extending the arms nice and long down the sides, and just widening the arms slightly so they're not too close to the hips. palms facing up. Just allowing yourself to find this open posture of relaxation in order to receive all the benefits of your practice that you've just done. And again, these moments of stillness are not often something we give ourselves in our normal everyday lives. So if the mind begins to wander, become distracted, just gently bringing it back to remember your intention or just to notice the breath while you're here. And again, this is your practice, so I will play the singing bowl at the end of Shavasana. Gently bring your attention back and let you know that I'm closing the class. But if you do need to stay here for longer today, feel free to stay as long as you need. Slowly and gently beginning to bring some awareness back to the here and now, or feeling free to stay here for as long as you need to. Thank you so much for joining me for your practice today. Namaste.